Yo, welcome to this week's episode of Next Possession, where we talk everything women's basketball with Coach Shamika Jones. That's me. So before we get into the show, a few housekeeping things. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and comment. Now, I don't want this show to be a place, or my page in general to be a place where I just give you information and y'all just take it in. Comment, talk to each other. Let's talk about women's basketball. Let's elevate the game. Make sure you keep the comments clean. Be respectful of each other. Be uplifting. All of that good stuff. Empower each other. Everything that is positive, because that's what I'm about. But let's have fun with this. So everyone knows, and if you don't know, welcome. But I've spent most of my coaching career on the collegiate level, so I give a whole lot of time to college basketball. But today, I'm going to talk about it some, just a little bit. I got to. But today, I'm going to spend most of my time talking about the pros. So without further ado, we're going to get straight to it. I am in the midst of my season, right? So I'm coaching right now. So I haven't had time to watch everything that I'd like to watch. So I spend a lot of time, late nights, early mornings, catching up on games. And one of the games that I knew I had to catch up on and I had to make sure that I talked about today because I had no choice was the Lunar Owls versus the Laces, Nafisa Collier and Tiffany Hayes. Like, I had no choice. So if you don't know, real quick, Cliff Notes, the Lunar Owls and the Laces were both undefeated, 6 teams in the league. Those were the last 2 undefeated teams. They faced off on Friday, and the Lunar Owls came out with a dub. So the Lunar Owls are still undefeated, and right now on Sunday, the Laces only got 1 L. But Skylar Diggins-Smith won the game by a free throw. If you're not familiar with the rules in Unrivaled, if you're shooting a layup or something worth 2 points and you get fouled in the act of shooting, you shoot 1 free throw. If you make it, you get both points. Same thing with a 3. If you're shooting a 3 or you get fouled on the 3-point line, right? Instead of shooting 3 free throws, you shoot 1. If you make it, you get all 3 points. And that's what happened. Also in the fourth quarter, if you're not familiar with the rules, at the end of the third, what they do is they take the highest score between the 2 teams. Whichever team has the highest score, they add 13 points to that. And now, instead of it being a certain amount of time on the clock, you are simply trying to get to that target point. So on Friday, the target point, the ending score was 75. The end of the game, right before Skylar Diggins-Smith won the game, right? Third win for Skylar Diggins-Smith. Locker room killer or a bucket? Like, that's a topic for another day. Skylar Diggins-Smith hits the free throw to get them 2 points, but before that they were deadlocked at 73. And that fourth quarter, much like playoff time NBA and Unrivaled, they play pretty hard throughout the game, but that fourth quarter, in every game that I've seen, you can tell the difference in intensity and focus and determination to win. You could just see it. Like, it looks different in the fourth, and that's what happened. So they were going bucket for bucket, bucket for bucket, bucket for bucket, and then Skylar comes down on Kate Martin, hits Katen with a little quick 1-2 step, quick release, right? Quick big first step, downhill left hand. Skylar Diggins-Smith, she gets fouled. She knocks the free throw, game over, right? I'm still getting used to the game over because I want to call a timeout, advance the ball, go draw something up. Like, that's the coach in me. But game over. It's an exciting league. If you haven't watched it and you're not making time to watch it, please go watch it. You won't be disappointed. Really good basketball with some really great players. Now, the 2 players I really want to talk about are Nafisa Collier and Tiffany Hayes. And I'm not talking about Fee being the ultimate leader in basketball and the businesswoman. I'm just talking about Fee being a certified bucket. Nafisa Collier is ranked number 1 in Unrivaled in points. She's averaging 28 points and 11 rebounds a game in 17 minutes. Nafisa Collier, I've always been a fan of Nafisa Collier. Now, I admitted to a group of basketball super fans last night that I don't have teams. Like, I have coaches, I got players. I'm just a fan of good basketball, and I'm a fan of Nafisa Collier. Her game, I just love her game. It's like old school plus new school post player basketball. That her spin to that fadeaway off the left, that thing just is unstoppable. But Nafisa Collier, I have dissected her game, and there are certain parts of her game that I have one post player that I work with in mind that I got to add some of that to. Some of her game, some of her points, her footwork, the elevation in her fadeaway, her being able to find each other and to find everybody else on the floor. She elevates everyone else's play. If you are a post player or you coach or you develop post, just watch her game, dissect it, and break it down and start giving some of that to your kids because they need the grit that she plays with. They need the poise that she plays with, and they need the understanding of her footwork in conjunction to getting a bucket. Just dissect her game. Now, Tiffany Hayes, like I said, I'm in a season, so I don't really get a whole lot of time. I have a family. I have a 19-month-old daughter. I'm coaching. I have a lot going on, so I don't have time to watch every game. But every Laces game that I've watched, the one player, everybody on that team gets a bucket, but the one player that stands out to me the most every game that I've seen is Tiffany Hayes. Tiffany Hayes is averaging, she's number 7 right now in the league. She's averaging 18 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists. But check this, only in 13 minutes a game. That screams efficiency. Left-handed guard, kind of shifty, can score from anywhere on the floor. The part of her game that I like the most, though, is her vision and the ability to get everyone else involved. There are a lot of players, especially in the league, everybody could get a bucket, right? Everybody's a bucket, but not everybody is a bucket getter for themselves and others. Tiff somehow gets her buckets and then puts everybody else in position to get a bucket. Now, the other part of Unrivaled, last night, Saturday, I'm sorry, y'all, my allergies, it's a morning. Saturday, Angel Reese got retired. I'm tripping. Angel Reese got ejected from the game. Now, there's a lot of talk about referees and their power, their need for power to be in control. And, basketball is different. The refereeing and the officiating is different on all levels of basketball. I see it on all levels. It's a little different this year. Y'all think she should have got ejected, though? There was no warning. There was no conversation. I don't know if she should have got ejected. Like, she's strapping up. She waves off the player, right? She flopped. The girl flopped. She waving the flop off. And the referee took it out of context thinking she was waving him off for the foul. And he tees her up. And instead of warning, there was no warning. Now, again, seasoned coach here. Played for a while, coach for an even longer while, seasoned coach here. There's supposed to be some conversation and some warnings. From that, an immediate second tech. And at this point, I know Angel, she chirping. So maybe the second tech is warranted because of the things you're saying and not calming yourselves down and controlling your temper and what you can say. Just because I am Angel Reese don't mean that I could just say whatever the hell I want to say. I still have to be respectful. But again, that first tech shouldn't have happened. If anything, the call should have been flopping. That's the call. If you don't know, that's the call for flopping. It should have been flopping. And it should have been a warning on Angel, like, hey, leave the hand gestures alone. It should have been any of that conversation. None of that happened. And she got ejected. And it tickled me because on Instagram, you see people talk about free Angel Reese as she's sitting there watching from behind some barricades. It was just amazing. But since we're on Angel, we're going to stay on Angel. We're going to talk about some positive things. What y'all think about Angel's McDonald's deal, right? I'm not going to McDonald's. It's not real food. I'm not going to eat it. I'm not going to give it to anybody in my family unless it's a fillet of fish. But I'm not eating McDonald's. But Angel Reese with this meal collab, did y'all notice she's the first ever female athlete to do that with McDonald's? Angel Reese is making history. Not only is she the first female athlete with McDonald's, just the other day on her podcast for her mom's birthday, she paid off her mom's house.
You said that if your mortgage was paid off, that you would retire, or you won't work, or you can pick if you want to work still. So your mortgage today has been paid.
Say, oh,
You dropping the cake?
what?
Today your mortgage has been paid. You ain't got to worry about your mortgage.
She gave her mother the ability to retire. We're talking about women's basketball here. The game has shifted. The game has shifted. These are things that for years, my entire life for sure, up until now, are things that we hear men players talk about. If we're hearing females talk about it, it's because they're playing a sport other than basketball. Finally, the sport that I grew up playing, that I love, that I've dedicated my life to, is giving females, women, the ability to retire their parents. If you're not watching Unrivaled, you don't watch the dub, you're not watching college women's basketball, you are missing out. For the first time in my life, the trades that are happening in the WNBA are the spark of every conversation. I can't get on my socials without seeing who's being traded to where. It's a new day and age. Viewership for men's basketball across all boards is down. I want to say, I think I read 30%. But women's viewership in basketball is up over 70%. Things have shifted. Women, we matter. We matter. Please, if I don't know why I'm begging y'all. If y'all ain't watching it, y'all missing out. But women's basketball has changed. It has shifted. We are finally on top. It is on every day of the week. Don Staley just inked the highest ever contract for women's basketball coaches. So whether you play it, you coach it, you're talking about it, you're reporting the news, women's basketball is on the way to the moon. I'm just happy about it. I'm a lifer here. I grew up loving women's basketball. I am a product of it. I'm just excited. What y'all think about it? How have you taken to the trades, if the trade information? Like, I'm seeing more and hearing more about WNBA trades than NBA trades. Like Luka and AD, we just heard about that, but I'm hearing way more. Like, this is just, I'm not old, but I'm a little seasoned, right? I'm just still blown away at how it shifted. And so much, just so much. Now, I got to talk about college, right? I have to. So moving on, the only college I'm going to talk about is the LSU Oklahoma game. And just because Angel had got ejected, you know what I'm saying, Samaya had got ejected, and Scott got ejected from Oklahoma on Monday night's game. Now, that game was a high-scoring game. Final was, 107 to 101? In the first quarter, Samaya Smith pushes Colton from Oklahoma. In lieu of her pushing Colton, her teammate comes and pushes, L. Scott comes and pushes Samaya. Both kids immediately get sent to the bench. They're tossed from the game. This is in the first quarter. Now, Samaya pushed first. Now, they were calling it a fight. It's not a fight. They were pushing. They were tussling. Now, I understand the text, right? I understand the intentional text. I don't know if it's an ejection immediately because it wasn't a fight. But I also don't agree with pushing. Like Samaya Smith, you're playing Oklahoma. You playing Midwest basketball. That's big body, back to the basket. I'm banging. I'm aggressive. Post play in there. I know that Coach Moki told you about that. I know between all 20 coaches on that staff, where each kid got their own coach, I know they told you that it was going to be aggressive, so much so that I know they were hitting you extra hard with the pads and throwing bows and everything in practice just to get you ready for this. Now, all I saw from Samaya was her getting pushed around in the paint and her getting frustrated. And her frustration, in an instant, she pushed. The kid she threw to the ground, Colton, didn't respond. However, another teammate that was nowhere near the play comes immediately to the defense. I talked to my players and have talked to my players for years as females about holding our, and not just holding, controlling our emotions. In a split second, Samaya's frustration, she's not out for just that game, but she's out for the next game too. And some conferences are different, right? Some conferences, if you're ejected from a game for fighting, you're not just suspended for one, you're suspended for 2 games. Sometimes even as women, we feel a slew, hundreds of emotions a moment. Emotions are fleeting, meaning that they're leaving. The moment we feel one, it's leaving, we on to the next one. This is how our emotions go. Women, we got to learn to control them. Samaya Smith, in that 1 second of emotion, cost her and her team to miss her when they need players. They got the big three who I don't know how much longer the big three going to be able to sustain all of it. They definitely won't be able to just be the big three throughout the whole tournament, but that's for another show too. You can't just let your emotions get the best of you. So now they lose Samaya Smith for 2 more games. Oklahoma loses Scott for 2 games. For that game plus another one. Now, once we got past that, I just got to talk about the last 2 minutes of the game. 2:40 left in the game in the fourth quarter. Oklahoma, the score is 90-98, right? We're moving down to the 157 mark in the fourth. The score is now 94-98. 2.9 seconds on the clock after Michaela Williams hits her 3. With 22.9 seconds on the clock after Michaela Williams hits that 3 to take the score to 101-104, right? Why didn't Coach call the timeout and advance the ball? You call the timeout, you advance the ball, and you go over situational so that your kids know that when we get in that situation that we call in a timeout and we're advancing the ball. She could have won that game or at least tied the game and went to overtime. Even with the fight in the first quarter, you call a timeout, you advance the ball, you give your team a chance to fight. Instead, she calls nothing. They dribble down the floor, they just throw it up. LSU ends up separating. There's advancing in women's basketball. Somebody explain to me why she didn't advance the ball. I'm so tired of seeing just lack of decision making in those moments. Well, that is the show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments what y'all want to talk about, what y'all thought about it, and I will see y'all next time. Coach Mika Jones, I'm signing off. Peace.